Hello, this is Josiah Winslow recording for his Client Server and E-commerce Implementations course at MATC for instructor Mark Cribb. Now this time we were asked to add a few different API endpoints to manipulate our database of posts, so let's get right down to that. So here I've got the postcontroller.cs source file where I have all of these functions for endpoints. I have one to get all of the posts, one to get a post by its ID, one to create a post from a request that has post information, one to update a post by finding a post with a matching ID and then updating the properties with request values if they're present. And finally, I added this one myself, an endpoint to delete a post. So let's go ahead and run the project. And in a sec, once that's running, we can get into Postman to test out all of these endpoints. Alright, so that's started, and it's showing all of these endpoints. I might not have set them up entirely correctly because they're all under the same like domain or whatever, because they're all to posts and some of them should be to post. I'll have to ask you about that later, Mr. Cribb. So here in Postman, I have a collection called Post, and to make things easier on myself while testing this, I create a variable called post ID. Now, this is a variable that will hold the ID of the post that I create using the create post endpoint, so that I can use the rest of the endpoints when I'm testing them out to manipulate that single post. So I'm going to show you what I mean in a sec. So right now we have this get posts endpoint where it gets all the posts, and right down here, this is the same 3 posts that we've always had in our database. Though they kind of have a messed up date. I don't know what that's about. But we can create a new one. So what we're going to do is we're going to send this over to the posts endpoint using the post method. And right here we generate an ID, and right here we give a date, which in our pre-request script, we fill with a ISO string using the Node.js library moment. Then we set that environment variable, the date, to that ISO string for the date. And what I also do to make things easier on me is, I told you I save the ID of the post that we've just created. Now I'm able to do that because we make this endpoint return the information that we just sent over. And so right here I collect that in a JSON object or a JavaScript object, and then I set the collection variable post ID to the ID property of that JSON data object. So let's go ahead and create this post with the title and the body shown there. And there we go, it works. So it's sent back this, which is the same thing that we sent over, status 200 OK. And now when we get posts, that's going to be at the way bottom. This is just what we sent over. And when we do the get a single post, where we also add the ID, which in Postman it'll initialize this with the collection variable of post ID that I just mentioned. Once we get that, we can get that post by its ID, and lo and behold, it's right here for us. Now, that's all well and good, but what if we want to edit that post? Well, I've got you covered here too. So here we have some updated information. It searches the post list by ID to figure out which one to edit, so we have to populate it with the ID that we saved before. Now this actually doesn't do it on its own. I have to do that using the request script, the pre-request script. pm.environment.set post ID, pm.collectionVariables.get post ID. I don't know why they don't have a system for automatically getting a collection variable like this, or if they do, I just haven't figured it out. But in any case, this has different information than before. So let's go ahead and send this request. And there we go. We get the updated info back. And if we try to get that post comes back to us with updated info. And just for posterity, it's also in the get posts for all of the posts, and importantly, not the old one. It literally updated this post with the new information. And finally, I wanted to add a delete post endpoint, so that's what I did, and this will fill it out with the post ID. And what happens is, once we send that, you see it returns the old post, but internally it has deleted that post from the list of posts. So if we try to do the get post for that single post, uh-oh, what's wrong? Status 204, no content, meaning the server successfully processed the request but is not returning any content, which makes sense because it's trying to get a post that doesn't exist. And once we do that, yeah, in the list of all the posts, that post is now nowhere to be seen. So, this all works. Next will be I believe, React tutorial where we have to learn how to use React. And the thing about that is, Mr. Crib, if you're watching this, I do know that I have done this one before. I've done this specific tutorial before, but the only thing is, I don't know where I saved the file. I'm more than willing to do it again. In fact, I'll probably just do it again because I've forgotten how to use React since then. Mostly, but yeah, just thought you should know that. And if you want to work something out with me, then, message me on Discord. You know my info. And for the rest of y'all, for any classmates or any strangers watching this, that's all. Take care.